So that was a 3-mile walk and 107 degrees.
Fuck that, dude.
Right?
Jesus Christ, that sounds... He went for a walk in 107 degrees, babe.
Oh, so shitty.
At least... Man, you walked 3... Fuck, man, I'm proud of you. That's all I can say.
One of those... The issue... I mean, thank you, but it's just, you know... Yeah, it sucks, but it's only 3 miles. I can still make it.
Weather and like beautiful, delicious air.
They don't get fall weather down there.
We're not even in fall.
No,
yet,
it goes.
Beautiful air.
It goes.
I've been waiting for
Winter, summer, spring, winter.
Yep, we've been. Last couple days, it's been like 65 here. It's been fucking beautiful.
Dude, I'll tell you what. Midwest sucks for pretty much everything, but they do fall right.
Yeah.
Are you guys close enough to a lake to get a lake effect?
Yeah, we're like 20 miles from Lake Erie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even that. Probably about
That's why. So it'll also, fun fact, be warmer in the. Well, I don't know. Is Lake Erie a cold water lake?
Is Lake Erie a cold water lake?
Like Lake Michigan is?
There's warm water lakes too.
It's not boiling.
Okay, yeah, it's probably a cold water lake.
I think most of the Great Lakes are.
Yeah.
So if it's similar to Lake Michigan in that sense, it'll be the closer you are to the lake, the cooler it will be in the summer,
Yeah.
and the warmer it'll be in the winter.
I like the sound
that's
of
the
that.
nice part that you wouldn't think of at first.
Oh, fuck. Well, I hope it cools down for you guys soon, because fuck, you guys... Not too much, because I remember what happened to Key like 2 years ago.
Here's a bitch.
Well, that too, and his bitch rubbed off on all the copper pipes in his house and exploded.
Didn't his house exploded in the winter, though?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, it cools down in the
Don't do
winter,
that.
but not too cold.
Even if it does, I'll be fine. I live in an apartment complex
Yeah.
next to a... the thing is, I'm on the same block, not the same block, but the same grid as a hospital, so I've never lost power.
Oh, nice.
I've lost power once, and it's because a transformer on my block exploded, and that was in the summer.
Was it Optimus or Bumblebee?
I think it was Cheetor, which he was always a braggart, so fuck him.
All right.
That bitch.
So anyway, speaking of giant robots... Wait, there aren't any giant robots in this, are there? Not yet, at least.
No. I don't believe so.
Not that we've seen.
I mean, maybe one day we'll get a robot kaiju. Oh my god, if we get a mecha kaiju.
Like a Mecha Kaiju number 8?
That'd be pretty ridiculous. I'd be here for it.
Fuck, man. I'm here for this one.
You know what? Have you watched the full season yet?
No, I'm watching each episode right,
Okay.
like, before we record.
Then I will keep my dirty slut mouth shut.
Okay. Well, hopefully not too shut, because we got to talk about episode 6 today.
That's very fair.
So, I gotta be honest with you, this one might be my favorite episode so far.
Let's just say I agree.
Okay, well, because you've seen every episode ever.
Exactly. Up to this point, 100%. This
Yes.
is where... Yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah. So this is the episode where we get the, like... So, huge outbreak of kaiju in the Sagamihara zone, right?
Nice.
Did I say it right?
Well done. I think so.
Sweet. That's the only time I'm going to remember a name correctly. So,
Sure are.
big-ass fucking mushroom kaiju is now erupting out of this area. And the kaiju neutralization team... What are they called? Kaiju Defense Corps?
I think I don't know.
Something Defense Corps.
But also, like, when you say huge, I think you're underselling it, because this is... it's a mushroom. It's a walking mushroom, but it is literally the biggest kaiju we've seen so far.
Like, this is
Including those
Godzilla
giant
size.
ones from the first episode.
Yeah, this is Godzilla-sized kaiju, finally. big old
The
mushroom.
only good news is it's slow moving, or at least it seems to be.
Very slow moving. I didn't even realize it was moving, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So this kaiju, big ass fucking mushroom kaiju shows up, and one thing that I love that they did, they very clearly care about the kaiju they're introducing in this show, because it's not just like a gimmick of it being a mushroom. It actually behaves like a mushroom. It creates spores of itself with which it continues to attack. So,
which is, we find out later in the episode, but I mean, it's again, yeah. And even when we find it out, you know, he refers to it as a fungus type kaiju.
Right.
So this is like a common thing. Like, they have different types of kaiju classified by like their characteristics. Again, like these ones, just they're mushroom, so they're fungus type.
right.
They have the Pokemon of kaiju.
Right. They have different typings, and I think it's really great that they've, at this point, it's a science to them. It's no longer just a reaction to monsters attacking. It's a science that they have worked through in order to like categorize these things.
Which I think they do a good job of trying to explain to us in the beginning of the show, but you don't really appreciate.
Right.
Because again, think about it. Kafka comes from an industry develops just around disposing them. Like, it really is. Their entire world has taken on so much when it comes to kaiju. It has become a part of their lexicon.
Right. It's just the norm. And, you know, as we see, there are the recruits on Kafka's team that are more suited for the combat aspect of this mission. So the main focus of the mission, obviously, is to destroy the Godzilla-sized mushroom that's slowly making its way through town. But with it sporing and creating miniatures of itself, there are hundreds of the Yoju?
Yoju. And
I'm
that's
learning.
just hundreds so far.
So far.
Because that's the thing. The kaiju obviously isn't stopping. It is just continuing to put out these clouds, which then permeate into fungus. It just, like those scenes where you see an abandoned like Olympic village where the forest is taking over, but it's happening in like the blink of an eye.
Right, and it's absolutely insane. So the big brass are taking on the task of destroying the big shroom. Like, and it makes sense. And by big brass, I mean our sweet Mina is gonna step up and shoot the kaiju. And meanwhile, while she's getting herself into position and everything, they tell the lower rankers to just keep an eye on the Yoju. Like, kill the Yoju as they come across. Don't let anything get past this line. Like, keep everything contained. Which the newbies do. They do a great job of it.
To the point where, so I'm gonna call them like class 1.
Sure.
Like the class 2, the class that's been doing it already.
Right.
They're just in awe of the fact that these guys are, like, at one point I think one of them just goes, "Hey, Captain," to their captain, like, "What do we get to shoot at?" You know?
Right. Well, it was almost this introduction to them on the battlefield felt very much like in My Hero Academia, when Class A and Class B worked together for the first time, and Class A was Class B was blown away at how much Class A had accomplished and how far they had come with their powers. And that's basically what happened here. Is they're like, damn, we're not looking so hot.
Except the difference is, in My Hero, I feel like the reason why is because when they went to like their training center, it was invaded by the villains and everything, right?
Right.
So their training was trial by fire.
Right.
Whereas this is literally, if like Class 1A on their first when they go out to fight the giant robots, they murder the actual monsters.
Right. So the newbies are legit just like tearing through them left and right, and poor Kafka is, struggling with his 1%, power set.
Climbing down the building as slowly as
everyone
possible.
else is jumping off the building like fucking Spider-Man's is, and Kafka is sliding down the side of a building, just like, okay, don't fall, we'll be cool. And I feel like this episode, more than any of them, I felt a little bit of emotion. Like, don't get me wrong, I feel emotion.
Which part?
The whole episode, honestly,
Oh, well,
it was a
that's
tearjerker
debatable
for me.
according to the scientists.
Yeah. The whole episode kind of had me a little misty eyed, just because Kafka, again, he is self-aware enough to realize, like, I'm not going to keep up with pigtails.
Kikaru, I believe.
Kikaru, yeah, he knows that he's not going to be able to keep up with Kikaru, but he still is giving her his full support. Like, he's giving her.
Shinomiya was the one you were looking for.
The girl, yeah.
Yeah,
Shinomiya.
Kikaru.
Shinomiya.
Yeah.
So, and Kafka sees Shinomiya doing these amazing feats of strength, and he gives props where props are due. And for the first time, she is receiving some kind of positive feedback on her performance. It's not, you have to be the best. You have to be better than the best. You have to, always be perfect. This is praise that she has never gotten in her life, and it reflects because her suit is just like, hey, your heart rate's going up. You okay?
Right. Which, two things. One, I think some people would take as like Shinomiya, like, oh, I'm in love with Kafka, when it's like, no, it's not that. It's just normal praise, and she's loving it.
Yeah.
But I think the other important part is, because she's had people who've always been like, wow, you're so good. But I think the reason why when Kafka says it actually means something to her is because she knows his secret, so she knows how powerful he actually is. And so someone of like such strength acknowledging and seeing her, I think that also had a part to do with it.
I also feel like, to the point of other people, like, yeah, Shinomiya, keep going. Everyone else knew who Shinomiya was. Kafka didn't go into this with any kind of ulterior motive. He is genuinely complimenting her for doing a job well done, whereas other people would be brown-nosing with her constantly.
Whilst literally covered in garbage.
Right, exactly. And Kafka, again, he accepts, like, look, I'm not the strong guy. I am not meant to be the one on the front line blowing things up. But there is still something I can do. And so he uses his know-how on dissecting kaiju to find their soft spots, to find their weak points. And ultimately, he discovers that each of these miniature yoju come equipped with their own reproductive organs.
Exactly.
Which is...
And that wasn't what he was going to do. His initial reason for this was like, man, even these yoju are a bit tough. Let's see if I can at least like find their core.
Right.
He was like, let's just see if I can learn something about them.
Something useful.
And he did, and like he did find their core, and he was even able to find like, hey, even some weaker people, subtext like me, if they flank these guys, can take out the core and actually kill them.
Right, and bowl cut.
I love bowl cut so much.
Bowl cut.
But
what's his
before we
name?
get to bowl cut, I think we should point out. Before we get to bowl cut, I think we should talk about Rena and how in this, because don't get me wrong, Class 1A, they're kicking ass and everyone's loving them, including the one team leader who's like, ooh, own these guys.
So yes.
But Reno specifically is one-shotting. Not one-shotting, I'm sorry. But he's taking the yoju
soloing
down by himself. As opposed to, thank you, soloing.
Well, and Reno here is really proving... So we have, they have a couple of rivalries that are already starting to form. You have the ex-military blonde guy, and you have Man Bun, who are kind of not necessarily intentionally, but they're working together with each other. They're killing kaiju as a team, and this is what gets the captain of that other squad excited. She's like, oh, mama's eating good this year, I think is legit what she says.
She 100% does, while literal drool coming out from her gas mask.
Look, I kind of respect that.
They got a very Legolas and Gimli vibe to them,
right?
Where their competition with each other makes them better as fighters.
Exactly, and Kirishima is... I know it's not actually Kirishima, but we know who I'm talking about at this point, I'm sure. But Kirishima sees how good Reno is doing and gets pissed because Kirishima has been working his whole life to do this, and Reno just shows up out of nowhere and is blowing him out of the water.
Talk about all the best schools he's been to, how he's been doing it for years, and yeah, Reno just came off the Kaiju janitor team.
Yeah.
And he's the one, yeah. And also, by the way, we find out that there's different ammo types, and why is no one else trying out different ammo?
So I feel like part of that, well, to the credit of different kinds of ammo, like let's talk about this in general, like as a whole, there are different types of weapons based on the performance of different people, right?
Yes.
So Mina, we get to see Mina's big, like this, she even says, Kafka, this is where I'm standing right now. And she fires
with her personal Hellsing styles cannon.
Dude, she had a fucking anti-tank cannon and blew that goddamn thing away while her suit was at 96% output.
Which is insane because we also, by the way, the guy's name you were looking for was Soshiro. Well, Soshiro was also, he also brings up later, most people don't get past 20%.
Yeah.
And she's shooting a cannon at 96.
Yeah. And then we see Soshiro
Hoshina.
Soshiro. We see their name. Yeah, so Soshiro ends up showing a little bit of what he is capable of. Because to this point, all we'd really seen about him is that he is a goofball.
Yeah.
And
like literally like, hey, you should be taking your job more seriously. People are dying. And it's just like he's just sitting there enjoying how stupid Kafka is.
And when he finally steps up to the plate and shows what he is capable of, he doesn't move. And he dices up a kaiju like that movie Cube did.
We don't even see him pull his knives out. We literally just see him click them back into place.
Right. It's overused anime trope. But like,
yes, but it's effective, man. It's so cool.
It's like when Future Trunks diced up Frieza and then caught his sword, and then Frieza fell apart.
Right? It's like Resident Evil. Don't piss off the Red Queen. You think you can get away from the lasers, but she's gonna grid you.
You've seen Cube, right?
Of course.
Okay, like seriously, hell of an opening scene.
Wait. No, I'm sorry. I was thinking the Cell. I've also seen Cube. Cube is fantastic.
Cube, for those that haven't seen it, opens up with a prisoner trying to escape from his prison, like a weird cube-shaped prison cell, and then he just gets diced into cubes with razor wire. That nobody knows where the hell it came from, and they never really explain where all this shit comes from, and I love it, and it's my favorite like space torture movie. Anyway,
Cube is a very good job of blending psychological what the fuck with gore.
Oh, for sure, 100%. So Shinomiya,
yep.
I got it. Fuck yeah. So Shinomiya is literally proves how badass he is, and he says, "Listen, Kafka."
Oh, no, Soshiro.
Oh yeah, Shinomiya
is the little blonde girl.
Yeah, you're right. So Soshiro, as he's strutting away like, I know how badass I am. He's like, listen, Kafka, because he keeps Kafka around like a little pet. I love that he does that.
Yeah.
And he's like, Kafka, let me tell you something. When you get to the point that I'm at and that Captain is at, they kind of cater to you. You're not just running around with generic weaponry. You get the weapons best suited to you. And
which, by the way, not only is cool, but also gives us a little more info on that giant fucking gun Mina's got.
Right.
That's not just something anyone can use.
Right. That's
only Mina can use that.
Yeah, that's not a standard issue. Mina has proven that that's what she is best with. And I mean, let's be real. What a thing to be best with.
100%. It's also really interesting because it's got like a visor attached to it, a lot like the kid from the comic East to West. and she's got these crazy, the same green ammo, I should say, as everyone else, but hers are shooting out like literal missiles.
Yeah.
But the one part that I find curious about it is she still has to ask for clearance for the shot.
See, I don't think
that
it's
seems odd.
I don't think it's so much that she needs to ask to be like permission. I think it's such a massive explosion. She needs to make sure nobody's in the way.
Oh, so kind of like saying clear for a defibrillator?
Right. Yeah. I don't think it was like,
You're
hey,
not asking, you're telling.
yeah, you're not. I don't think that was a moment where she was like, hey guys, is it okay? I don't want to make anyone upset. No, I think it was more of like, guys, if I shoot this and someone's in the way, some people will die.
Yeah.
Like, you see that kaiju that I just blew 3 holes into, and I'm asking for a 4th shot? I'm not just doing this because it's fun. I'm doing this to make sure that that thing stays down, and if there's anything in the way, there won't be nothing left of it.
And considering what we see next, thank God she did take that shot, because we thought there was a lot of Yoju before.
Right.
It is. And it's funny because they are literally coming down a highway. It is bumper to bumper traffic of Yoju.
Right.
Can you imagine how much more there would have been if she didn't get that last shot in?
So here's the thing: is when we have not really talked much about the music in the show. We've talked about the music for the intro and the outro, but not so much the show itself. I got to be honest, that march theme that they did when the Yoju started crawling in companies, fucking chills, man.
That's the thing about this show. It's not just the animation, it's not just the story, the voice act. Every part of this show works together so perfectly. And you're covering one right now. The music is also perfect for this show.
Right.
It is. You could not like anime, and if you like Godzilla, you'll still love this show.
Oh, for sure. So with this new swarm of Yoju, I'm gonna be real with you, this new class A that we've got is, they're like, oh my god, we just did this, like, why is there more? And this is when the rest of them are like, okay, newbies, like, step off, we'll take care of it from here. It shows that while yes, that class of newbies are strong, they are very much capable, they still don't fully understand what the full scope of the job is.
True. Now, I will say, I think, and honestly, it's been so long since I've watched the next couple episodes, I don't remember these parts of it. Just the way they're talking about this class, I think the majority of them are going to step up anyway. Like, don't get me wrong, I think the other thing to remember is also, like, okay, we got the Gimli, we got Hiroshima, hanging out with Reno, and we got our Gimli and Legolas,
right? And
we got Kafka, and we got Shinomiya,
right?
I mean, that's what, 8 people? It's probably a class of like 30 or 40.
Right. They don't focus on the whole class. We get a handful of the classmates.
Yeah, and I don't think all the classmates are going to, but I think the main characters that they've been showing us so far are going to step up to be on at least class 2's level,
Right. Well, you have to, and we do get the other part of this class rivalry that I mentioned was Kirishima and Reno. There is a point near the end where we get to see those two being forced to work together, which pisses Kirishima off, not because Reno's doing so much better than he is. It's because he doesn't see, like, he's not able to see himself surpassing him.
Exactly. And the funny part is, for Reno, he doesn't even realize that Kirishima's getting like this, because in Reno's mind, he's just like out there doing the job.
Right. Well, I think it's a very good comparison to Goku and Vegeta. So Reno, much like Goku, isn't doing anything to try and be better than other people. Like, sure, he wants to get stronger, but he's not doing it to be stronger than specific people. He's just like, I want to be stronger. Well,
it's the love of the game.
It's the love of the game, and we get Kirishima knockoff, and he's mad because he's like, I'm playing a game against an opponent that doesn't realize that we're playing a game right now.
I'm the Prince of Saiyans.
And I am having a hard time accepting that, like, I'm not as good as he is. Not because, like, he should be worse than me, but because I should be as good as he is.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And the horny captain from the other team even mentions, like, these guys are pushing each other to be better. Like, this whole class is striving to make the best version of themselves that they can. And
100%. Which is funny because one thing we also see is Class B, one of the reasons they're like, hey, you kids, guess now you're going to see what it's like, is because they're jealous.
yeah.
And it's because at the beginning they're like, oh man, guess you guys don't know what you're doing. And then Class 1A just steps up and is like, okay, watch this. And they're like, oh shit.
Right.
Well, poop.
And, well, one of the things that we get to as the episode ends is Class
Such a good
1A
ending.
getting their isolation moment. Reno and Kirishima, at some point I should probably clarify what his actual name is, but it's not going to be today.
Iharu.
Iharu. Okay, so Reno and Iharu get separated from the rest of the group while they're doing their thing, eliminating the Yoju, and they come across Kaiju number 9, which up to this point, the only two people really that have come across Kaiju number 9 are Reno. Sorry, there's 3: Reno, Kafka, and Kikaro.
Yep. But the thing is, this one's different. Because this time, they come across him in his human form.
Right. They come across him in his...
And Reno's like, man, what's one of the cleanup crew doing here already?
Like, dude,
You know?
get the fuck out. We got to finish doing our job so you can do your job. And then it starts talking, and I gotta be honest, this... Funimation with their dubs lately have been amazing. Because they get the creepy guys that sound creepy so well. Like, in My Hero Academia, it was, oh god, what was his name? The guy with all the hands.
Give me the script. Oh, that's
Tomura.
obnoxious.
Tomura.
Tomura.
So
yeah.
they got
Tomura Shino? Yeah, Tomura.
Tomura had the creepiest fucking voice. And Kaiju number 9 is very reminiscent of that.
Also, My Hero also nailed All for One. Yeah, All for One's voice.
Yeah.
Because it's got that creepy factor, but it's got that arrogance factor.
Right.
Too.
And Kaiju number 9, I will say, is very reminiscent of Tomura's voice when he talks, because he's talking about these plans of grandeur, but also wanting to keep quiet about it, and it ends up making a much bigger problem for him, because there's only so much he can pack into one kaiju before it becomes a problem for him.
Yeah. And he thought, specifically for this one, he thought the self-fucking capabilities that they had.
Yeah, the self-fucking was a really important part.
Which his obvious to be archenemy, Kafka, found.
Right, yeah. So, and he even calls out, like, so there's clearly somebody here that knows what the fuck they're doing with kaiju bodies. So, who is it? And then Iharu gets shot. Just like Kikaro did in the last episode.
But, not just that, but when he turns, he's got his human face, and we see it rippling. And we just like 2 or 3 spots of the kaiju form coming out.
Yeah.
And then, Iharu, pop, and then end.
End
and
of
it's
episode.
like, what the fuck?
All right.
What a cliffhanger.
So a lot of shit happens in this episode, and I want to say how well it does at giving everybody just that little bit of time to shine. Because, like,
100%.
Like with Mina, it's giving her a chance to show, like, not only Kafka but the audience what she is capable of. But at the same time,
I think you're smart about that, because with how overpowered she is, you don't need a lot of screen time to show that.
right. It's something that I feel like too many animes overdo, is just you know, it's the 15 episodes of powering up to go Super Saiyan kind of thing. You know, we don't need it. But I want to say that I love that in the moment as she's getting ready to like fire it off, it's her focus isn't on like anybody but Kafka.
Yeah, literally to the point where in that special advisor we were talking about, she looks over at him.
Yeah. And I love it because on one hand, she is still that child at heart that's like, I'm going to show you that I'm better than you.
This is the first time we get that from her.
Right.
We get any idea that she remembers him.
That she fucking cares, yeah. And I think it's great because, like,
I wonder if a part of it is with her moving on and becoming better and this captain and all that, but Kafka, like, just kind of slinking into the shadows of the kaiju cleanup. I wonder if a part of her felt betrayed. Almost.
I can see that.
That, like, you know, I could totally see that. Hey, we were supposed to do this together. Where were you? I needed you by my side and you weren't there.
Yeah, I can 100% see that.
He was her. I mean, so that's the thing. That's the other thing. It's either going to be love interest or like, no, we lost our families and you were my family. And
I do think it's going to be more of a like. Not like over the top, like, oh, I've missed you kind of love interest, but more like familial, like happy to be back together kind of interest. You know,
yeah, I see that. I see that.
Like perhaps there is like a romance that builds off of it, but it's not going to be one of those that just it's there already, like right off the bat.
But it's not going to be like, stepbrother, I'm stuck. It's going to be like the way they write this show, it'll actually evolve.
It's not going to be Chi-Chi showing up at the world tournament after Goku beats Piccolo and being like, hey, you remember that promise you made to me 15 years ago?
Well, time to teach you about sex.
I mean, they had to get into it real fast because, like, 4 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the end of Dragon Ball, they were both only like 18, and then Gohan was.
If they were 18 by the end of Dragon Ball, that's because the writers were like, ooh, we're making some real awkward heavy petting. We just, I don't care how long it's been, say they're 18.
No, because they do like a 3-year time skip between King Piccolo dying and the tournament where he fought Piccolo Jr.
Okay, if you say so. I'm just saying.
Look,
They were super young when they met, and she was running around in a bikini for some real disturbing reason.
She was 13 at that point. I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying, like,
okay.
Look.
All I'm saying then is those animators don't know how to draw a 13-year-old.
Well, no, for sure. But Goku being Saiyan, he ages a lot slower than humans, so that's the whole reason he looks so young. He stays at that plump, ripe age of looking that way forever. Let's see. Goku was born in 734.
Okay, I don't.
I need this. I need to know this. 734.
Omura Shigaraki. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then they get married in 756. So they were 22. They were both, or Goku was 22 at least. And then Gohan was born, yada yada. So, but okay, so back to it. Mina got her little bit of moment time to show that she remembers the promise that Kafka made, which is good for Kafka because he did kind of just yell out in the middle of a team meeting like, "Hey, I'm gonna be right there with you one day."
Yeah, and then Soshiro and him have a real fun moment.
That was, I gotta be honest with you, Soshiro is very quickly becoming one of my favorite gag characters in anime as a whole. Just because, like, don't get me wrong, I love seeing those gag characters that are like, they serious the fuck up when they need to, but his is so effectively done because he's not just on-off switch, right? He is kicking all the ass, making all the jokes, and also teaching Kafka along the way. Like, he is effectively holding Kafka's hand most of this episode.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things that really ruins it with the fun comic relief characters in a lot of shows is you're like, why are you where you are? Why do you have the power you have? Why are you leading other people? And this one we see both.
Right.
Literally, he's that strong, but also while out there and doing all this, he is teaching them.
Right.
He is leading them.
Yeah, he knows that he cannot do the job alone. He's not trying to make it seem like he can do the job alone. And I have an issue because I am also with Angel. I'm watching Demon Slayer right now, right?
Where are you at?
We are they just got to the red light district. So here's the fun thing. You know how I've talked about this before. I have a knack of predicting things in anime when it's really stupid. And
You want to predict, and I won't answer either way.
No. So what happened was Flashy Dude shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm taking you three with me." And they're like, "Where are we going?" And I go, "They're going to Pound Town." And then it shows the red light district and I was like, "God damn it."
Yeah.
But okay,
Flashy.
I bring up Demon Slayer. Zenitsu from Demon Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stand.
I love him.
See, here's the thing. I really like when he falls into that like sleep but kicks all the ass.
Trance.
Yeah. I cannot stand him just being the whiny bitch that he is 98% of the time.
I completely get that. And especially when I first saw Zenitsu, I was like, can you die? Because that would make me happy.
Right. Like when he was turning into the spider demon thing, I was just like, I don't fucking care. Like, good. Maybe I won't have to see this guy anymore. And
so you're on that season. Wait until the next season.
Okay. We're making our way through it. I will say I'm glad this one's a lot shorter than some of the other long-running stuff that we've watched together. Because, fucking Dragon Ball was a slog, man.
Yes, but I'll tell you what. Get ready for some Dragon Ball episodes long battles.
Oh, I can live with that.
The difference is it's not the first 3 episodes of them powering up. The entire time they're fighting.
There's a lot of yelling and why are you doing this? But,
Yeah. It's really, and it's like Tanjiro, they're demons. They eat you. How are you not getting that yet?
Yeah. Yep. I will say watching that first time that
That's
we see
a show that I've cried a lot.
Oh yeah, I've watching Rengoku die was rough.
Bro.
That was rough.
I'm about to tear up thinking about that.
So that first time that Nezuko showed that she was gonna be on the good side when they're fighting that fucking mermaid demon that would sink into the shadows. Yeah. The chattering thing. When she kicked that fucking box open and just knocked the thing's head askew, I was like, that was the fucking coolest thing. I
screamed so loud.
Because it scared you?
No, I was like, yes!
And the thing is it reminded me of a very specific, stupid old YouTube video from God, I probably saw it when I was in high school, where the scout from Team Fortress 2 fought the witch from Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
That was, I'd have to just send you the video. It's literally the first 3 seconds of the video was the only thing that reminds me of it, because he kicks a door open and smashes a zombie with it. That's it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So having Soshiro be a comedic character, but not in the way that it's just obnoxious, it's a breath of fresh air for me, because too often you have the gag characters that's all they are. They're one-trick ponies. They're just there for jokes. But Soshiro
he's well done.
Right. He commands presence when he's on screen.
Yes, very much. Like you would expect a vice captain to do.
I'll say this, Mina, when she's on when she's in a scene with other people, she's not exactly the center of attention. Like, she's there, you know who she is, you know what she is capable of, but she is by no means the person that people are going to pay attention to. They'll show the respect, they'll show the due dignity to her, but Soshiro, I honestly feel like is the one that handles most of the PR for that squad, because he has that personality.
And I think it works so well for both, because you know what, that actually also goes to point out something that Soshiro even says while we get that, traffic jam of Yonju coming out. He says that, what does he says? He goes, okay, so that's the thing. Captain Mina, she takes out those big guys, and that's what she's good at.
Right.
But what I'm good at is short to mid range. So while these guys are coming and she's not the best for them, that's where I can step in and help out.
Right.
And he points out that the two of them together are just very, very perfectly balanced.
Right. It's again, this organization that they all work for is very good at recognizing a person's strengths, and they are assigning them based on those strengths. They're not just saying, okay, well, let's play some nepotism up in here. Like, yes, Shinomiya has probably I mean, yeah, sure, she's had a leg up on everything, but she is proving that it's not just money that got her to where she is. She is fully capable of what she is doing.
100%.
And I mean, that goes for the rest of them too. Like, yes, Blondie was ex-military, but he is still pushing himself to be better to fight the kaiju to protect people in the world now. And Man Bun, same thing. He is pushing himself to the point that they're both getting recognized by the captain of another team for their abilities.
Maybe not for the best reason.
Sure, like she's looking at them like I look at a nice steak from Texas Roadhouse or something. And I do love that even her own teammates
at, the way you look at a nice adult toy.
Yeah, I love that her teammates are like, "Hey, Captain, maybe could you fucking not? Your gun is digging into my hip."
Oh God!
But I will say this: like, despite Kafka being like an important role in this episode, like getting finding out how these things can be destroyed, he was by no means the focal point of this episode.
No, and he also, so an interesting thing in my mind is that, so in comics, they have to have a what's it called?
The protag.
You're not allowed to actually have a comic book without one in it. Which, like, there's to the point where there's a Superman comic where he takes Make-A-Wish kids to the moon, and the only way they would allow it is if the beginning of it he shows him killing a monster.
Nice. So,
like, just stupid shit like that. Yeah, but so it's kind of like you would expect it to be the same with Kafka and his kaiju form, But in this one, he doesn't even like, all right, I'll kaiju my legs to run faster or my arms to cut better. No part of him kaiju's out. No part of him transforms. And literally outside of just being like, hey, here's where their cores are. Also, more importantly, killed their egg sacs or whatever.
Right.
He's not a part of the episode.
He's really just there to be. He's the proxy for the viewer at that point, because while yes, Soshiro.
Yep, close enough.
What is it?
Soshiro.
Soshiro is throughout the episode. He's giving guidance to Kafka, and so like he's explaining things to Kafka, which again we as viewers benefit from. And this episode really gives a chance to the secondary characters to shine. Most of all, I would argue Reno, because he is showing that he is, aside from Shinomiya, he's probably the strongest one of the new batch.
Yeah, to the point where Soshiro even points out, like when he's saying, hey, the majority of them aren't going to make it out of the 20s, which is fine. He's like, he says, except for Shinomiya, who's already out of it.
Right.
And then he says, but maybe Reno will excel past it.
Right.
He's the only one who even has shot.
Right, and like we've got, like he even says, like most of the people in this court they plateau, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like he doesn't treat it like that's a bad thing. Like these are literally people. Like these aren't numbers on a page. These are people. They treat them better than we treat our actual military.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say our friends because I fucking hate you.
Well, no, that goes without saying. Like, fuck, I'm only doing this because of contractual obligations. But
God, if we hadn't lost those suits.
God, seriously, fuck you, Jay and Co.
Just the worst.
But ultimately, this episode, it was a very action-packed episode. This was a character episode more than anything.
Yeah,
like
very much so.
Yes, the very end of this episode helped to establish the groundwork for the rest of this season. But for the most part, it wasn't an event like oriented episode. It was an episode that helped establish a little bit more about each character, while also building like this much bigger world of kaiju than we had gotten to see up to this point.
100%. And you know what? And one of the things, and it's a smaller one, well, maybe it's not, but it's the exact same as what you said, building those characters, but also building the teams as a character.
Right.
You know, showing the old school team that's like, hey, this is old hat for them, and showing the newbies and how they're doing on their first run.
Right.
Know? They do a good job of all of them.
I think it's really funny that this Alpha Squad that we get, this A team we get, everybody has that flashy, showy anime hair. Like some of them, it's more muted than, Reno's got, platinum white. Shinomiya's got these huge, massive pigtails flying around. We've got blue hair, blonde hair, red hair. And then you look at the other squads, and aside from like the horny captain, everyone else has very like, short cropped brown hair, short cropped black hair. So I
wonder if that's one of, in my mind, I could see it being one of two things. One, I could see it being like, all right, hey, they just don't need it, so why would they want it? Or
right.
One being like they just were never about that life.
Right.
But two, I can also see it being like, hey, maybe they showed up on their first couple of days with the same flashy hair, and then eventually they were like, you know what, screw this. It's much more important to focus on my kaiju-ness,
I like to imagine that people with hair like Shinomiya's and Iharu, like that's their natural hair.
Right.
And they're just like the freaks of nature amongst the others.
Iharu's hair is just, every time I see it, I'm like, really? We're bringing this back?
Although
I guess in Japan it never died.
Yeah, in Japan it's still a very common like hairstyle for the delinquents.
Okay. It's just one of those, like, because over here, that style, I mean, I don't care how much of a badass you are. Everyone's making fun of you for it.
Oh, for sure.
Bro, to the point where, like, the show I've been binging for the past couple weeks, very happily I might add, is the original 1980 Magnum PI. And no one in that show even has this haircut.
Right. Well, you got to remember, I've noticed with Japanese culture, when they find like an American trend that they like, they will latch onto it for far longer than America ever latched onto it.
It's true. I just always think of this as Elvis hair, and Magnum PI is Hawaii in the 80s. So it's like, if I were to see it anywhere in America,
yeah,
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, like you said earlier, best episode so far.
Oh yeah,
hands down.
100%. I started watching the next episode, and it gets gooder.
I'm
it
so excited.
Gets so much gooder.
Dude.
But then I had to fucking actually do work again. I had to go back for my lunch break.
The worst.
Fucking
Being an adult.
sucked.